Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the engine oil. Alright, right here. This has a different cap on it, but this is going to be your oil fill cap. So we're going to leave this on until we take the drain plug out. That's going to control the flow of oil a little bit. If we take that off first, kind of equalizes the pressure, and then the oil is just going to gush out as soon as we take the drain plug out. So we're going to leave that in for now. This is a different plug. This is going to be for your transmission fill, so we'll get to that later, but right now we're going to start with the engine oil. So this is going to be your fill, and I'm going to show you where the drain plug's at in a second. The filter itself is on the front of the bike, and you're going to get to it from the other side. So right now we're on the right side of the bike. So let me show you where the drain plug's at, what tools we're going to use to get to that, and we'll go from there. Okay guys, it's kind of hard to see, but right here, this is going to be your drain plug. So this is, the drain plug threads in towards the back of the bike for reference. So the video camera is going to be towards the front of the bike. We're looking back towards the back of the bike. This is your drain plug. You can use a regular wrench, or it's designed to use an Allen. Alright guys, we're back. Got a little stubby ratchet here with a 5/8 inch socket. That's what size the outside of this bolt is. So we're going to break this loose. We're going to throw our drain pan underneath. Then we're going to reach up here and spin out our drain plug the rest of the way by hand. A little bit's going to come out, but not as much as if we had taken the drain plug out, or the fill plug out first. There we can see the oil coming out. And this oil was changed a year ago with full synthetic oil at the dealership, and it probably has no more than 5 miles on it since then. But just because it is a year old, even with a full synthetic, and even with not riding the bike, you know, any manufacturer is going to recommend X amount of miles or 1 year, whichever comes first with full synthetic. So it's been a year, the bike's been sitting, figured why not drain it. So I'm going to pull the fill plug out, and you're probably going to see the speed of the oil draining come out a little faster. There it goes. Now while we have the fill plug and the drain plug out, the next thing we want to do is unscrew the filter and let everything breathe and flow and get all this oil out. This bike it's cold, hasn't been started in a year, so we're going to give the oil plenty of time to drain out, because it is going to be relatively thick right now just from sitting, being in a cold engine. So next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you where the filter's at, how to get the filter off, put your new filter on. Then we'll throw the drain plug back in with the new O-ring, fill up the oil, and the oil change will be done. Alright guys, the next thing we're going to do is pull this old filter off. As you can see, the filter is right here. Alright, this is the chrome version. You can get these in black as well. Harley obviously makes their own filters. There's lots of aftermarket filters, just like changing the oil on your car. I did go with an aftermarket filter that's supposed to be equivalent to the Harley Davidson. I'll show you that box and brand here in a second. I got the chrome one as well. Harley Davidson does make a oil filter cup wrench for these filters, because there's a crankshaft position sensor right here. Kind of gets in the way of a normal oil filter wrench, but this is what I'm going to use today. This is a automotive style oil filter wrench, and I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get this in there and break that filter loose without getting anywhere near the crankshaft position sensor. So we moved the drain pan a little bit. We got that underneath the filter because we are going to get some oil out of that as well. So let's go ahead and see if I can't get this broken loose. Can hear just how dry that O-ring is on that filter. Just gonna unscrew it the rest of the way by hand. Try and catch as much oil as we can. Okay. There's gonna be your old filter. Here's your O-ring here. The oil, again, it looks very clean because it wasn't ridden very much since this last oil change, but it is old, so that's the reason that we're changing it. What you want to do then is take a clean rag and wipe off this gasket's surface where the new O-ring's going to seat. You also want to take some brake clean and just clean off any oil that's leaked down by the rectifier there. The brake clean will help liquefy the oil, make it run and drip down off the bike a little smoother and a little faster rather than getting stuck in some of the nooks and crannies there. Just going to clean out any oil that I can see laying down here on the bottom of the engine. Alright guys, this is the filter that I got here. High flow Filtro premium oil filter. This is the HF 171C. The camera to pick that up here in a second. Alright. This is the HF 171C. This is the chrome. You can get this in black. That would be the HF 171B, as you might imagine. So the C stands for chrome. In this instance, pull it out of the box here. Comes with, I'm assuming, some instructions, which shouldn't really need at this point. Comes wrapped in plastic, keeps all the dirt and debris out of it during shipping. You can see it's got a nice chrome finish on it. Looks just like the filter that was on the bike. So let's take the plastic off. We're not going to need that. Now this O-ring might be hard to see with the camera, but normally you want to oil up these O-rings. There you can see it. This one's nice and shiny. That's because it's already pre-oiled. Just going to spread that out a little bit. It is oiled and it's ready to go. So to get a filter that's not pre-oiled, you can just take a little bit of new motor oil right on your finger and just smear that around. That helps lubricate it when you put it on. But we're just going to spin on this new filter. And these are just going to be hand tight. You don't want to use any tools to put on a new oil filter. And that's it. The new filter is on, looking shiny, and good to go. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to check the drain plug, see if there's any oil still leaking out. We're going to clean off the drain plug itself, put a new O-ring on that, screw that in, and pump up the oil. Alright guys, this is the drain plug that we took out of the bottom of the bike. You can see there it has that little hex in the center. It also has this black magnetic tip. Now that's a good thing because that's going to catch any small metal fragments or contamination that gets floating around the oil from just normal wear and tear. This tip looks pretty clean. There's not a big pile of shavings on the end, which is a good sign. Just want to take a rag and wipe that off, get it good and clean. The other thing with this drain plug, as you can see right here around the base, it has a small black rubber O-ring. So you want to replace that whenever you do the oil change. They have a tendency to dry out and kind of lose their elasticity and not seal very well. This one you probably can't pick it up on the camera, but it's just not looking super great. So when I was at the local Harley shop, which if you live in any reasonably sized city or town in America, you'll have a local Harley Davidson shop, I went and picked up some new O-rings for all these drain plugs that we're going to be doing today. They're like 53 cents a piece. So you're just going to clean up your drain plug, take a new O-ring, just kind of carefully work that down around the base, spin it around a few times, make sure that it's not twisted or bound up. And there she is, good to go. So I'm not going to videotape me putting the drain plug back in, that's pretty self-explanatory. Put it back in the hole that you took it out of, and I'm sure there is a torque spec for that drain plug bolt, but drain plug bolts do not need to be extremely tight. These are aluminum threads, and so you can damage them pretty easily. So just you know, a half a turn over hand tight with a ratchet is all it's going to take probably to snug this up, and you should be good to go. Alright guys, so I have that drain plug in for the engine oil. One thing I did want to note is I did use a little bit of blue Permatex Loctite, same thing, just a different manufacturer, but thread sealer, medium strength thread sealer on that drain plug, just for a little added insurance, and that's going to help make sure that that drain plug doesn't vibrate or rattle itself loose going down the road and spit out all of your engine oil, which obviously would be a bad day. So the engine oil that I'm going to be using in this bike is Castrol Power 1 V-Twin. It's a 20W50 full synthetic motorcycle oil. So this is not just your regular car oil. It is formulated a little differently for air-cooled V-Twin engines. Heavier weight, obviously, 20W50. Now this bike, this is a 2006 Road King, 88 cubic inch V-Twin, and it calls for 3.5 quarts of oil. I'll show you on the dipstick here as well. This is a floating dipstick, so you can check it with the bike upright on a jiffy stand or on the side stand as well. But you can see down here it says add a quart if it's at this line right here, and here the top it says full at hot, and obviously do not overfill. So being a cold fill, again, this is you know, we're adding oil, we're not checking oil on a hot bike, so we want to fill it up to about halfway on this big block section here between add and full. 3.5 quarts should put us right about halfway. So I'm going to grab my funnel and we're going to pour in 3.5 quarts and we'll go from there. Alright guys, so we've got 3 quarts in right now. We're going to use half of this quart. It's going to look right on the side here. If you need half a quart, it's going to be a little line right here. It says 1/2, and a little window right here, so you'll be able to tell when the oil gets down that low. So we're just going to pour in a little bit at a time. And just keep checking our level. Try not to make a mess. So you can tell this is the half line, so we're just a smidge away. Just a touch more. That's about perfect right there. So we're going to throw the lid on this guy. Set him aside. Pull our funnel out. Careful not to drip any more oil than necessary onto the engine. It's just going to make for a mess and it's hard to clean later on. Stick our funnel off to the side. We're going to take our dipstick, and again we're looking for about halfway on this block right here. So we're going to stick it down in. Pull it back out. It's kind of hard to see. We are about at the full line right now with our 3.5 quarts. But you've got to remember that we have an empty oil filter right now because we changed the filter and we didn't fill the filter with any oil when we put it on. You can do that if you want, but you need to subtract whatever oil you put in the filter from the total amount of oil that you're going to put in the fill plug. So we have an empty filter, so once we start this bike, which I'm not quite ready to do yet because we've still got some other fluids to change and fresh fuel and a battery and everything that it needs before it's ready to start. Once we start this bike and let it warm up, we'll check it again, and then that oil filter will fill up and we should be back down around our halfway mark on the stick, which is right where we want it. So for now, we're going to call the oil change complete, and we're going to move on to the transmission.